So we are now delighted to be joined by Rhona Clarke, one of the composers of the ABENDMUSIK series, who has written a new work which will be performed on November 22nd. And I'm going to hand over to Mark Dooley, who's here with us as well. And Mark is going to ask Rhona a couple of questions about the piece.
Morning, Finny. Morning, Rhona. Great to be with you. Rhona, this wonderful piece you've written for us, I'm just so much in love with the text, first of all. It's such a beautiful text. I'm really drawn to the sort of the incarnational character of it, the divine and the human meeting, that wonderful word about the word being clothed in flesh, as it were. I just wondered, first of all, what appealed to you about the text, given that it was a sort of response to this idea of landscape resounding and as a theme for the concert. Well, what drew you to this particular text of Hildegard?
Well, I wanted something. I wanted a Latin text first. I was quite definitely I wanted a Latin text, and I didn't want the usual, mass contexts, usual motets. So I did look to Hildegard, and when I found this, and I also didn't want something that was overly. I'm not a theologian and not knowledgeable really in that area, but I found this text dramatic. The very opening, "O vis aeternitatis,"
Yes.
and about power, strength, power. It's a very strong text, and that's really what appealed to me, rather than any theological aspect.
Sure.
And then, of course, Hildegard's own chant is so beautiful, really very, very beautiful. And that certainly influenced then how I approached the setting. Her opening has this elongated O, this beautiful melisma on O, and very definitely influenced the opening of this particular setting.
Sure. I love that opening with the E and the F natural, that sort of Phrygian mode flavor to it. I don't know how much that influenced some of the writing later in the piece, but I sort of get the impression, I have to admit to being a fan of the Phrygian mode. I want to sort of set up a club for the rehabilitation of the Phrygian mode. But it seems to sort of pervade quite a lot of the piece. I don't know whether that was sort of a conscious thing on your part, but I certainly feel the flavor of it at many places throughout.
Yeah. Yes, so it is. I mean, a lot of the choral music I write is modal rather than anything, Again, don't think too hard about what particular mode it is or what particular mode it just does that. So
it just happens, yes.
So, I kind of sing it into being in some ways.
Yeah.
And then work on it.
Sure. Some of the most dramatic moments in the piece I find are as you say, the opening is very strong, but the way you set that word dolore with the full scoring and those series of suspensions, I mean, that's incredibly dramatic. So it's in some of those more reflective, almost sorrowful moments that we sense the real strength of the text as well.
It's very definitely an expression of pain, and the whole impetus there is on the visceral, really,
yes.
The idea of pain as a very visceral thing.
Yes. I'm just going to say, you go.
No, just when you're setting a text, you cannot bring out every single thing, especially if it's a 6-minute work. So you don't every single idea. So you must focus on, very particular aspects. So the power of the opening, and then the pain of that section. And you might guess that I was less interested in the tearing of his garments. That was, that just happened.
Yes, indeed. It's interesting you mentioned at the beginning that you wanted a Latin text, and you definitely have a feel for Latin. Well, what do you see as the advantage of Latin as opposed to other languages? Why would it be the language you would naturally turn to, do you think?
There are two reasons. One is that I just love the sound of it. I did study Latin in school for Leaving Cert and loved it. So the sound, first of all, and secondly, that it's, you know, while it's not a spoken language now, it's a language that will travel well. It grieves me that you go anywhere now and English is always spoken. It's so ubiquitous, and I mean, obviously it's a language I use all the time, but there's something great about being able to have a language that no longer really belongs to anyone, which belongs to everyone. So there are two reasons, but I suppose the sounds more than anything else.
Well, singers would be absolutely one with you there, because it's just such a wonderful language to sing, with the pure vowel sounds, the accentuation, which is so easy to sense so much of the time. It's a wonderfully natural language to sing. And of course, when you're working with a choir, you know, most of whom, and probably all of whom, may not speak Latin or understand it to that extent, they can still get an idea of what it's about, because there are so many words that we have in English that come from the Latin. So, you know, you can sort of get the feeling of what the mood is without it even being explained to you. You can get a feeling of what the text might be about. I think it's a wonderful language.
That probably happens also because of the tradition.
Yes.
The repertoire contains very much that is in Latin, because it extends.
So many texts which you know through other settings.
Exactly. So although a person may not speak Latin, they are familiar certainly with most of the sacred texts. They are very.
I think one of the wonderful things for this piece, for the choir with this piece, is that it will be a new text. So, you know, just reading it through, you know, the phrases are quite new in the mouth, as it were. So that's going to be an exciting thing, exploring some new Latin, you know, for singers who, you know all the usual standard Latin texts. It's going to be wonderful to sing some of these words, which they may not have sung before. You know, indumenta and some of these other words which were new to me as well. So,
I think it's going to be a new experience for everybody watching as well, to hear this brand new piece getting its world premiere. It's always very exciting, and I'm sure it's exciting for you, Rhona, to have a world premiere. It's like a new birth, and I think this piece will fit beautifully into our ABENDMUSIK program, which of course will take place on the 22nd of November, fittingly on the feast day of Saint Cecilia, patron saint of musicians. And so we do look forward very much to this world premiere. Thank you for giving us these valuable and interesting insights into your creative process and into the new work. And I know that we're all very much looking forward to hearing this piece. And I just remind people that tickets for this concert are available at musicforgalway.ie. And this is part of Music for Galway's Soundscapes programme in connection with Galway 2020.